Well, hello and welcome to PM Express. Definitely a different environment today. You know it's going to get very, very exciting. Well, I've dubbed this Knowing the Customs series. Knowing the Customs series. Why? Because, you know, most of us have a really different perception about the whole idea of customs, particularly if you clear your goods through the ports or, well, the major ports, i.e. Takoradi, Tema, or Accra Airport. You must have come through customs, and we all have one story or two, and one of the major ones being delay. There's so many aspects where we have to get through customs, i.e. how goods are valued and the paperless system, everything. But today, I just want to find out from customs what the procedure is if you want to clear your goods. You buy goods from wherever it is and you ship it and they arrive at Tema. Then what next? Because it just seems to be forever. And everybody has their story. Now, the role of customs and other major stakeholders in the clearance chain of imported goods and delays at the port is exactly what I'm going to talk about today. And I have my now very good friend, Assistant Commissioner Seydou Idrisu, who's Assistant Commissioner Preventive or Enforcement. So if anybody's going to talk about it, he is the man to talk about. My name is Nana Sakwa IV, Chief of the very famous Little Republic of Akwama-Dumasa. When I come back, I'm going to find out, going to get an education on what it is, what procedure it is to clear your goods from the port, and which other agencies are even involved. Don't go. Well, thank you very much for staying, and I'm sure within the next hour, you would understand exactly what your agent means when he tells you the goods are here, there, or point B or point A, and I will be educated myself. I am completely ignorant with port matters, but I have my own versions and perceptions about customs and port saga. And even my good friend here, Assistant Commissioner Seydou Idrisu, has his own perception, even though he works here. He must have gotten a lot of calls and letters about people's dealings with the port. First of all, let me say thank you very much.
Thank you.
For giving me this ample time, and I've dubbed it Knowing the Customs. So hopefully by the time we finish this series, people would know what customs is about.
Okay.
Now, today my main issue is delays at the port.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I were to open phone lines today, the phone will break with people calling and talking about what they deem unnecessary delay.
Yeah.
So what are the steps involved in clearing and releasing goods at the port?
All right, thank you so much. You know, customs for some time now, since the year 2000, have been drifting away from direct revenue collection to actually supervising and enforcing revenue payment by importers.
Okay.
What it simply means is that, unlike the past, where you come and a customs officer approaches you, look at your goods, write them down, tell you this is how much you are going to pay. These days, it is what we call self-declaration by the importer. You bring your goods, you come to tell us that, or you get an agent who you will give him all your trade documents, and your trade documents, the agent will fill in everything, work out the duties, go and pay it at the bank. The only time we get contact with you is when we are going to inspect the goods after the payment has been done, to see whether what you have paid for or what you claim you have brought is actually what you are taking. So in actual fact, to ease clearance, we start clearance long before even the goods arrive. These days we have what we call electronic submission of your trade documents from your invoice or bill of lading, your import declaration form are electronically submitted when even the goods have not yet physically arrived in Ghana. Okay. So that we can start the business of classification and accepting your value. It is your duty to submit the value you bought it at. And there are standards for which we will look at. If the value is acceptable, we accept it. If there's a need to vary it based on the risk profiles and then other information we have, we will vary it long before and give you the value that custom is accepting for duty purposes and the classification of the goods under the tariff. So immediately the goods arrive, you put in your declaration, either yourself or through the clearing agent of your choice. Then your duties are worked out by yourself, put into the system, the Ghana Custom Management System. It is accepted and directs you to go and pay it at a bank. You go to pay it at the bank, and when the bank officials enter that you have paid this amount as duty for these goods, the system will pick somebody who will look through. We call him a compliance officer, even though we are not even, who will look through what you have done to see whether you have done everything correctly and all requirements, because certain goods require permit or certificate, or whether everything has been attached. After that, when he is satisfied and he makes an input into the system automatically picks from among a list of examination officers who have been fed into the system. To avoid corruption, it picks somebody official, from the list. It's not the person who picks, the system picks somebody, and you have to approach him to do the examination. He will fix a date, notify other interest stakeholders who need to see, because for some goods, maybe you are bringing electrical items and there are standards board will may have to look at it and see whether they go according to the standards, or you are bringing drugs and some other, or even other security services may have an interest in a particular goods. We'll notify them so that we'll all come together and do the physical examination at the same time. At all these times, customs do not see the goods. They don't even know who if we see a container standing at the port, we only know that this is a container, maybe carrying goods, but we don't know who is for what goods is inside and who is for those goods. So if all these things is done correctly and promptly, you should be able to clear your goods within a day to two after they have arrived.
Two questions. I want to find out who are the stakeholders in this chain.
Yeah.
But before then, you see, one complaint I got was that where the goods arrived, they could check the goods there, but they have to bring the container somewhere, and sometimes that's like another 12 hours before the containers are moved to where you could check. They were wondering, some of the agents I spoke to were wondering, why don't you just open so we check and then it would shorten the time?
Well, those two questions are linked because you asked about stakeholders.
Yeah.
The importation of goods involve the conveyance, that is a ship that brings it, that is if it's coming by ship. And the shipping line brings it under some terms with you. When they reach the port authorities will show them where they are to put the goods. And all this time, like I said, customs, our role has not even called.
Yes.
So the shipping line is one of our major stakeholders. The port authorities is another stakeholder. That is Gapoha and all the freight stations that they have, sublet some of the distance to. Then we also have our customs house agents who have been trained by us and licensed because of the intricacies of going through clearing. When you are bringing goods, it means moving from one agency. There are several agencies, so we train these people, and they act as agents for importers to make sure that they ease their work. And then, of course, we have the ministries and departments and agencies who issue regulatory bodies, who issue permits, licenses for importation of certain goods. All these people play a part in the clearance of the listing. And like you said, if the container comes and maybe it is supposed to be moved to a particular terminal and it is not yet there, examination may not be able to be done. But that is not customs rule, it is other stakeholders' rule.
See, but they were blaming
but
you.
When the delay is there, the general public think that it is customs. And like I said, from the moment the goods come up to the time that the examination day, we don't have anything to do with the goods apart from when you bring in your declaration and something is not clear and we ask you to provide better particulars, then it may delay you. But if your presentation and every document that you have given to us is correct, we will give you, in fact, it is electronically done. So the Technical Services Center will receive an electronic mail concerning your trade documents and all those things. And they will look through your valuation and classification of the goods and send it back to you. And you put in a formal declaration. That declaration is put in by you or your agent, who calculate the duties, go to the bank to pay, collect the receipts, and then come back to us. Electronically, it will select officers to do the examination. And when the examination officer go and you open the goods and he sees that that is exactly what you have entered, you are released to go.
Why so much blame put on the custom officer, considering you are sort of almost at the last end of the chain? You don't even determine what terminal the container should be, where it should be inspected. So why is the custom officer taking so much of the blame?
Well, it's I would say it is from history, because first, with that, I mean, when we have not yet gone into this transparent way of doing things, you come in and the customer officer is called to come and look at the goods, he writes what you have brought, give you a paper to go and pay. So people still have that perception that that is the way things are. Even though the discretion has been taken away from the officer and the actual responsibility for assessing the duty has been given back to the importer. You are bringing your goods. Tell us what you are bringing. Go and calculate the duties on the listing and pay it. We will only come to find out, to enforce, to see whether what you have done is correct. And if it is not correct, then we then try to enforce the laws and the regulations. But people think that we do everything. In fact, when you mention the port or the airport, people think that customs do everything. When the goods are, they bring it to our place, we keep it until we release it to them. So any delay, the ordinary importer doesn't know that. He blames customs.
Specifically, how many institutions are at the port?
On the recent count, we have not less than 23 different organizations operating there.
Including customs? Including
customs. You know, we have the port authorities, like I said. We have PNI, we have police, we have national security personnel who coordinates security activities there. We have
the FDA should be there.
Yes, what we call the Food and Drugs Board. We have the Standards Board. Every enforcement agency, and then Narcotics Control Board. So many, all have a role to play in the clearance of certain goods which they have interest.
I see. The next, when I was coming here, I was calling agents, and because they deal with the port, so that they can, give me some of the questions to come and ask. So I put them down, and that's why I'm looking on there to find out about it. One says, look, is it a perception or a reality that it's difficult to clear goods from the port? Because most people, like me, have never directly cleared anything from the port. But should anybody ask me that, is it easy to clear something from the port? My first answer is, don't even venture.
I think it is, people are frightened by stories they hear. But like I said, it is a matter of full disclosure. If you are bringing goods to Ghana, the documents of the goods come to you long before the goods actually arrive. If you ship goods from the US to Ghana, it will take at least 3 to 4 weeks before it arrives. Customs says don't even wait for the goods to arrive before you start the process. We can start the certain processes while the goods are on the high seas. And because you already have all your trade, your invoices from your dealers, those who are sending the goods to you, they have given you invoices. The shipping line has already given you a document showing that you have this consignment on board their ship. You have a packing list because at least you or your agent did the packing. You can present all these things. That's what we call the pre-arrival, an assessment system. You bring it forward. Then we will look at it. Accept the value if everything is okay.
No handouts.
We don't even meet you personally. You or your agent will scan the documents and send it to us. So the officers who are working day and night, in fact,
somebody will sit on it.
We work 24. No, unless when you bring it within the moment you submit it, there are officers working day and night. They will examine it, and if there's a problem, if they need some better particulars, they will send you a mail that this thing that you are talking, you have brought, we need, there's something wrong, or we need more information on it. And when everything is okay, They send it back to you, and then you are now waiting for the ship to come because you can't take the goods when the ship has not arrived. And the shipping lines also submit advance manifest. So you are even aware of even when the ship is coming. So the moment the goods land, you put in your formal declaration, which is also done online. The formal declaration is done.
What's the difference between the pre-presented and the formal one?
The pre one is just you are presenting your trade documents for the valuation to be confirmed, and then for the valuation to confirm, and then the classification of the goods under a tariff, which will give you the rate of duty.
Okay.
So when that is done, you have the tools that you need to calculate your duty on your own.
Okay.
So you now calculate, because the value has been accepted by customs. The rate of duty has also been accepted by customs, by the place that have placed classify the goods under. So you go in, you wait for the goods. When the goods come, because you cannot land the goods when they are still not, then you put in the formal declaration, also online.
Okay.
That formal declaration comes in, and the system accepts it, directs you to go, and then because the ship has also the shipping line has also given us the advance manifest. So the manifest says that Kweku has these goods inside. So the moment you put your this in and all the details tally, they will tell you to go ahead to the bank to pay the duty. You go to the bank, pay the duty. The bank official will also enter the receipt number and everything inside that you have paid the listing. And the system will automatically generate an officer for you to go and look at. I mean, he will look at all what you have done. That is documentary this thing. Even now, that aspect has been brought back to here to be done electronically. So when everything is okay, then the system picks an officer. The officers are not picked by you yourself or even somebody to avoid, I mean, integrity issues. So the officer will pick, and then his name comes to you, and they say, go to this shed where the officer is. He will physically look at the goods. And you go to that officer, he will arrange with other, like I said, institutions who have interest in the goods.
So depending on the classification, he will then call FDA or ARMS?
Yes, depending on the goods you are bringing. So if the FDA we don't want to waste your time to finish, and SDA also say we are coming to do. That is why we said joint examination. You call all those who are interested in that particular consignment.
Whose duty is it to call all the parties that are interested?
What happens is that with the single window concept we are doing, we try to make sure that if an FDA is to issue a permit, the permit is issued electronically. And for that particular consignment. So they are aware that the consignment is coming. SDA have an office at that place, and their officers may like to have a look at it. It is the duty of the examination officer to notify the people, and they will fix a date. The person has finished paying, so 2 o'clock will be doing the inspection. Then they will tell you to go and bring the container down. They will come and inspect it. Sometimes, like you asked earlier, the bringing the container may take time because maybe the logistics to bring it down is not readily available by those handling it. All those things normally they will blame it on us, but it is not we. Because when you bring it down and unstuff, we'll come and inspect the seal to make sure it wasn't open. You will unstuff, we'll look at it with the other interested parties. And then when everything is okay, the officer also goes to make his entry in the computer and releases you. And then you go.
So why can't I import my motor bicycle, come to Tema, take my bike? Why do I have to go through an agent? There's always agent. Why can't I just come, take my bike and go?
It is mostly in the interests of the occasional importer that custom house agents are deployed throughout the world. In fact, big and regular importers can obtain their certificate. They obtain their declaring certificate themselves. And declare by themselves. We call them self-declarants. But for the irregular importer, who, like you are saying, you are sitting here and then maybe somebody send you a motorbike. The number of places you may have to go through, the process that you may have to go through may be so unfamiliar to you and so cumbersome to you that it is better to get somebody who will guide you. Otherwise, you will not even know where to start and where to end. So it is in the interest of those people that these custom house agents are trained and licensed by customs to do the work on your behalf, because they know that if you are bringing a motorbike, like you said, these are the requirements that you need to be able to make a declaration, and then to clear it.
So basically, it's in your interest.
It's in your interest. In fact, you choose the person you want. We don't force you into a clearing. There are many of them, but you will go and choose somebody you want.
But you will need a clearing license to be able to clear.
Yeah, in fact, the law allows the Commissioner General to license somebody based on first we train them. Okay. We train them, and then when you are trained, you go through a process of getting a proficiency certificate to show that you are capable of doing that. Mm-hmm. But the law currently does not allow individuals, it allows partners and companies. So even if you are trained, you may need to form get another person or more people to form a partnership to get a license to to open a clearing house.
So I'm sitting here, I bring my table, the agent comes and says, oh, and there's always customs. Customs say it's 1,000 cedis. And you're thinking, no, it's too much and this. How then do I know that, look, this guy is not, stifling, 300 cedis and going to pay 700 or something?
When the agent does the declaration on your behalf, when the system accepts the declaration, including the duties that he has calculated, he prints out a hard copy from the system. Mm-hmm. And the system generates a peculiar number for him. That's what we call a declaration number. That number, even if you take that number to anybody, to any custom office throughout the country, they can look and tell you that this is what you are clearing, this is the amount you are supposed to pay this. And then the demand notice is given to him. He's supposed to give you a document which is generated from the GCMS to show that this is the amount you are paying, except the clearing charges, and maybe there will be other port charges from the other stakeholders, which are normally they also demand it they give it with a paper. He should be able to prove that this is the amount he's paying. But most often, people will not even demand these things. They will just, whatever he says, okay, well, the officer say you must bring this, customs say you must do this. They pay. And most often, in fact, like I said, the only officer you will meet is the customs, physically, is the examination officer. And by that time, if you had done your payment correctly, and he can't do anything. You have paid before going to see him, mm-hmm. So, to go open the booth for him to see. So if you had done everything correctly, how can he be corrupt you? Because you have already finished paying the duty before seeing the custom officer. But it is so if there is any element of corruption, then it is the importer himself or his agent who started the corruption. And maybe the custom officer who went to see it may either agree or arrest him to enforce the district. But the onus is on the importer to do his declaration. He does his payment. He goes to the bank to pay, long before the officer even see him.
Now, this harmonization and classification of goods. Yeah. I spoke to one agent, and he says, "Now, can you ask for me? Because sometimes you import some goods, and by the time they classify it, they ask you to go and do a test to see if the food is not poisonous. Meanwhile, the thing is not edible. Mm-hmm. But because of the classification, you now have to pay a different agency to make sure it's not poisonous. But, the thing wasn't poisonous. So, he says, can they look into that for us?
You see, international trade is controlled by the world, bodies. Mm-hmm. And there have been a lot of protocols to that effect. Classification of goods, every good that goes through the international market, from live animals to nuclear technology, has been classified into sections and subsections. And it is used by all the customs organizations in the world. Mm-hmm. So your good, this glass that you are bringing, will be classified under a section. So when you come, especially when you are bringing a composition, a commodity that is a composition, we need to find out the details of that composition before we know where to classify it. And that is the reason why customs have got laboratories and other enforcement agencies have labs that will have to look at all those things and then tell where to classify it under. That classification is a very important aspect of international trade. After the classification is done internationally, but the rates at which the tariff rate we put there is now done at domestic level. So if they classify this glass under maybe chapter 1, it is not under chapter 1, but chapter 1, let's say, and then you take it, the country will now put their rate of duty for glasses under it. So if you don't classify it, sometimes people will take something, they know that the rate here is higher. So they will go and they will try and classify it at where the rate is lower, or even the rate is exempt, because government policies are expressed in the rates of duty.
Okay.
When government want to encourage a certain commodity to be brought in because of its value to the economy, they may either make it free, or I mean they will make it the duty very low. People will try to push commodities which duties are high to those areas.
bring your four-wheel drive and say it's for the farm. I'm going to connect a plow to it. Yes. Let me take a quick break. And then when I come back, I find out how about things that come in regularly. I mean, do they still have to go through all these cumbersome things? No. I'm taking a break, and then when I come, you explain that to us. So find out if you bring something in regularly, there's all these trends. What then happens? Don't go. Well, thank you very much for staying, and I'm sure you are getting educated just as I am, getting to know customs and all its procedures. And we're just looking at what it is to clear goods from the port. And indeed, I must say, Seidu is doing a very good job. We went through the classifications, and I just wanted to find out, like a product, maybe a particular brand of rice or a particular brand of noodles, and anyway, they come in tens and tens and tens and tens. I mean, and I know, forces guys, you're too very regimental. Do you have to still go through the same process, or then what then happens in that case?
Well, interestingly, when a company or an individual is fond of bringing in, he regularly brings in an item. We started that relationship because we know the values already, we know the classification. That commodity comes in, and sometimes we even give them and his compliance level, if he's always declaring correctly, we give them preferential treatment.
Okay. That thing is very important, isn't it? Being honest with you.
Yes, if you are honest with the system, anytime you come in, we don't find problems with you. These things we do it with importers, we even do it with the clearing agents. Agents who are always, when they put in their declarations and we go to examine, everything is perfect. Importers who are bringing in things, and they are given preferential treatment like any other this thing. And they are occasionally being checked to see whether they are still complying. Sometimes we let them even clear their goods very fast from the port, and then we then come to their premises, and do what we call post-clearance audit to see whether what they have cleared is actually, to make sure, because if you don't monitor, human beings, if you don't monitor, sometimes they can take advantage and misbehave. But we don't delay such people.
I see. Yeah. I see. I think that's one thing that importers should take note of, that start building your credibility.
Yeah, if you build your credibility with customs will treat you with, respect. And sometimes even you are entitled to take some certain goods, with that even full payment of, they can even let you go because they know that you
come and honor it.
Yeah.
Well, it's very important then. I think that's one thing people should walk away from this. There's another question for you. It says, customs sometimes imposes penalties for offenses and uplift values. Can I be prosecuted in court for criminal offenses if I infringe on any customs laws? So it's two questions here. So let's start with customs, uplifting, values and imposing penalties.
With the values, I already told you that when you are able to present us with, your trade documents, which are genuine, our valuation system, which is worldwide, says that you must try to accept the value that the trader actually paid for the goods. And you can only see that in the documents that have been presented. Remember, we also, people try to cut corners. In Ghana, for instance, there are several importers and their agents who bring in goods. He can pay $10 per piece for that goods and come and present $1 a piece and fake an invoice. But we have, we have reports of similar goods or the same type of goods coming from the same areas. We have, relationship with customs and other organizations over and the other countries who constantly feed us with information. So apart from everything, we have risks we have indicators which will tell you that this is the price. When it is correct, we accept it. But when we have doubts of the document you have presented concerning the value, then we fall into other methods of determining the value.
I mean, what if, let's say I deal a lot with, a Caterpillar agent, let's say in Manchester. I deal with him a lot. And instead of him selling maybe a Caterpillar for 300,000 because of our relationship, look, man, you can have it for 200,000. I get here and this machine should be more. You are then going to ring them and say, what's the price of this?
When international trade, even when that happens, they will tell you that the machine was 300, but he's giving you a discount and you are paying 200. All these things will be stated in the trade documents.
I see.
And normally, I mean, some of these discounts are accepted, others are not, depending on what sort of discount it is. So just be fair to us, tell us what is happening. Because the importer will write the actual price and write in the invoice that discounted for this, but maybe because the quantity you are buying is huge, or maybe
the relationship.
Yes, but certain relationship with that one, if it is just because I know him, it will not. I mean, that kind of discount will maybe not be accepted. But if it's because of quantity you are buying, the discount they are giving you may be accepted for this thing. But just disclose to us. But what we are seeing is that the person just come in, go and manufacture an invoice at another place, reduce the value drastically, and present it.
So in that case, would you look on the invoice and let's say it's got, you're forcing, you call your force, there's a, camera here being delivered by Nana Sakwa. How much did he pay for it?
We may not call the supplier directly, but we have. We already have some databases of similar goods. I mean, the goods may be coming from even the same manufacturer and the price that he has been selling to them. We have customs to customs sort of information where we exchange.
Okay.
So if you are bringing the goods maybe from India, we can call Indian customs. We have some, commodity experts whose job is to, we can rely on them and they will tell us exactly how much that goods is going on. Because for duty, one of the principles of taxation is that there must be equity. You can be given something free. You can be given this glass free, and somebody goes to buy it. But when it comes to payment duty, there must be equity between the two of you. We shouldn't say that because you had it free, then you shouldn't pay duty. And the one who bought it should rather pay, the duty. No, we will make sure that the value of the commodity is the same for you, the one who had it free, and the one who bought it, for the purpose of calculating duty. It's one of the cardinal principles of taxation.
So let's say I'm friend with some Lord Mayor of Canterbury or somewhere. Yeah. He lives in a big house. He has lots of money. He says, Nana, I am clearing my furniture and I want to go and buy new furniture for my house. Yeah. And I'm going to throw it. I was, hey, don't throw it. I want to take it to Odumasan. Yeah. So I go and bring my trailer and come and load all these things. Yeah. Now when I bring, you guys are going to be unfair and say, oh, well, somebody brought these sort of furniture and they cost so much money, so I won't accept that he gave it to you for free.
Well, he might have given it to you for free, but it has a value. If it didn't have a value, you wouldn't even need it. It has a value. We will determine the value. In fact, there are principles, the valuation of goods, apart from the fact that we are always looking for the market value, the value that you actually paid. But in the absence, there are rules that we use to establish the value for custom purposes. So yes, he has given free, but we'll find a way and we do it together with you. We don't normally do it. We are ourselves doing it and leaving you out. We engage you and we are transparent in establishing the value because it has a value. And for the duty purposes, we must get to that value and use it to work out duty for you, even though you were given free.
And with your penalties, what am I charging?
Yeah, with penalties, customs offenses vary from false declaration, like I said, somebody coming to tell you that he's bringing something 20 pieces, he tells you he's bringing 5 pieces and pay for 5 pieces, then later on you go and check and it is 20 pieces. It's an offense. Or the thing was a glass cup and he said it was a calabash. Calabash was also have got a cup. And you value it as a calabash and only want you to go there and see that it is. Or the thing is prohibited, or there are various offenses. When the penalties are imposed when you infringe upon the customs offenses. You go against it. The law allows us to impose penalties, but it also allows that beyond the penalties, you can even be prosecuted, depending on the offense. So the Commissioner General is given quasi-judicial powers that, look, instead of coming to court to prosecute him, you may either impose a penalty on him to pay in addition to the duty and let him go, or even after imposing a penalty, depending on the degree of the offense, you may still bring him to the court for the court to judge and sentence him. So these are in fact, most of these sentences, the offenses and the fines that we put are to, some of them may be very, insignificant to go and waste, the time in the court. So you give this thing, but if the person is a regular offender, sometimes you would like to go to the full rigors of the law to deal with that person, because it's better to deal with him fully, and others will learn from it.
See, the way you seem to suspect everyone bringing things, and I don't know, maybe because we are in the third world, we seem to overvalue things, things that have been thrown away somewhere. Here, it's like we place so much value on it. And I think that's where the conflict comes in with customs, valuation side, and those bringing things that, hold on, this was a mattress somebody was throwing away, or maybe a hospital was offloading, I want to come and give it to this hospital, and they are placing so much value on it. Is it because we are hungry this side of the world, or?
No, there are laws involving movement of goods across the borders. And those laws, even some like a mattress you have used as an example, our Ghanaian law even is saying that use mattress, you don't bring it because of the health reasons. But sometimes people bring in these mattresses, maybe one or two, and say, oh, that was my mattress I was using in the house, I'm coming back home and I'm bringing it. You think he's not going to sell. The next day, it's on the market, being sold. So for things that has been, the law has since asked us not to bring, for instance, most of these used fridges, used mattresses, you still see them in the market. But what is happening is that if the law allows you to bring that item in, whether in the used state or this thing, there must be a way of finding, getting the value of it in the international market. Everything has a value. If you are not able to provide it with a convincing value, the valuation methods have a way to determine. Even some of them, you can even go, sometimes we go to find out the prices that they are selling it in town. We will work it backwards. We are going to see the commodity, because if we don't have, it's one of the methods that we use. If we can't get the value, we can go to the market, find out they are selling like you use the mattress, they are selling mattress 200 series, let's say 20 series in the market. Okay, so we'll then work out, take the profits, take off the cost of input, the duties, and then we come to a reasonable value for you to use it as it's one of the methods, the last methods that we use. So if we use all the other methods, then we can't get a value for you, because you must account for the value.
You see, it's this value thing, probably that's been the bane of customs, where we also suspect customs to be corrupt. Now, not customs being corrupt, or we corrupt customs.
Yes, but I like that.
Yeah.
Because that is where nobody...
Because I looked at the value and I'm thinking, oops, I have to pay 10,000. Okay, that's it. Let me give you $1,000 and let me pay 4,000 and go.
But it is not as simple as that. The person who is giving the value, you don't see him. You do this through the electronic system. And you have the right to challenge it. When they give you the value and you feel that it is too high, there's a mechanism, internal mechanism, that you can challenge the value.
The value they're giving you?
Yes. There are internal mechanisms. You can challenge it and a body will sit in it. And even it doesn't preclude, if you are not satisfied with the ruling, at the end of the day, you can even go to the courts.
Okay.
So you have the right to fight the value. And like I said, all these fights you are doing, and you may not even meet a person. It is over the net.
So let me go back. So, now with this faceless clearing, paperless clearing, probably has put a stop to this. But before then, when there was a lot of contact, maybe that's where all the devil...
Yeah, that is why people still think that it is still the same.
But maybe that's where the perception may have come in, where there was a lot of contact. Because indeed, there are certain cars that, I know one day I'll come and then we'll do cars. So let me see, certain items where the values, someone says, oh, I brought this and this is the value I had to pay. And you think, what? The value here is probably as when the thing was new. Is that somewhere that you think maybe it's not from customs, maybe it's from the state, should re-look at it again?
I think our law on, you use car as an example, on vehicles, in fact, other third world countries are trying to copy our valuation system on vehicles, on used vehicles in particular. When you bring a car which is less than 6 months, it's deemed to be new. So the price that the importer, our law states that the price that the dealer, the manufacturer of the car, was selling it when it was new, that is the price that we take for custom purposes. But if the car has done some use, had been used for some time, we depreciate it according to what the law has. The law has given depreciation up to 5 years. And when it is 5 years, we stop at 50% of the original value. 5 years and over is 50%.
50%.
Below 5 years, there is, there are rates of depreciation we do. And the law is very explicit on it. So you depreciate it and use it as it is deemed to be the value that you bought the car. We don't ask for, because for a used car, you would bargain. Just like any used commodity, you bargain for it. You may get it cheap, another person may get it a little higher. But for duty purposes, if you bring the same items, two people bring it, they must pay the same duty. So our law has made this in that take the value as it was selling you by the manufacturer, and we have it all available.
Let me pick you on your last statement that if I bring something and somebody brings something, we must pay the same duty.
Yeah.
But that's the complaint you hear most, that, oh, I brought the same thing, but last week it was this price, this week it was that price. Sometimes
it is the rate of exchange. Most of these values the value is done, like I'm talking of, if the value is done when it was new. Let's say if it was in dollars, we calculate it in the rate of exchange of dollar varies from week to week. It may go down, it may go up. So you can bring something and the rate of exchange is lower this week and you pay a certain amount. And just 1 week later, the rate of exchange has gone up.
But you should always, your rates and charges should be pegged in cedis. So that doesn't matter what are the dollar.
They are in cedis, but the point is that you buy those goods not in cedis.
Oh, so they are valuing your goods.
So you value it according to the origin of the goods. If you are bringing goods from the Eurozone, we'll value it in euro. Because that's how you bought it. You didn't buy it in cedis.
No.
Then when we finish valuing it in euro, we'll use the rate of exchange to convert it to cedis. And then you will then work the duties in cedis for you to pay. If you bought it in the US, we'll use US dollar. If it is in England, we'll use the British pound.
Another agent, Asimeni, says that most of the goods are being referred back to the standard rate. You submit things, these are the values, by the time it comes back, boom, they've gone back to standards. It's like there's no trust between the importer and the customer.
It is because most often, unfortunately,
you've been beaten too much.
They never will bring the genuine trade documents to us. Most often than not, they bring fake ones. You see, the officers who are dealing with these things are trained, well trained. They know what an invoice is. They know what what we call attested invoice is. Sometimes you will be surprised that the same importer who brought things from the same supplier will come and you can easily physically see differences in the invoice that the person has gave 3 months ago and this. All these things, officers are trained to do that, to detect these things. And like I said, we also exchange information with other partners outside. These days, the world is so close that you can get information on the goods even before they come.
So it goes back to my issue, even though now it's faceless and I'm told people can't hide anymore. Now true values are being paid. Now that true values are being paid, now that people can't dodge, can the customs and clearing fraternities sit down and bring down the rates a bit, since now there's not much slipping through the net?
Well, the rate of duty is not customs or the trading public who gives it. It is government. And like I said, government gives the rate of duty based on its policies. You will realize that majority of the goods that are necessities in life, government doesn't put tax on them. Even those which are not necessities but they are very important. For instance, if you get a saloon car, the taxes on cars, if you are bringing a car which is 2.0 and below, the rate of duty is lower because they want the ordinary person like me and you to be able to buy and come to work and go back. But when you go in and buy between 2.5, 3.5, 4, the rate start going up. Because first, you are now looking for luxury, you are not looking for just means of convenience. Secondly, you are coming to consume a lot of petrol.
And pollute the environment.
That will need, and you pollute the, so that's the way of getting back the revenue so that we can use it to mitigate against some of the costs that you are coming to cost to the state.
I see.
So government use taxation as one of its tools to control the economy, to redistribute income, to balance the economy. So they don't just impose. Some goods are very important. They bring it to manufacture, employ people. Government put sometimes zero rates, sometimes very concessional rates on them. So it is a reflection of government policy. You realize that when the new government was coming, they said, well, they were going to reduce some certain distance. Mm-hmm. So we are only implementing the policy. We don't make the policy. So we can't sit down and say that, oh, because of this, let's reduce it. Sometimes we can recommend based on certain observations we do. A Commissioner General can make recommendations to the Minister of Finance and they will look at it.
So this issue of always defaulting to standard, the agent can appeal?
They can appeal. No, our rulings is not the final. Is
it not too cumbersome to appeal?
It's not. The moment the thing goes, they send the listen to you on the mail. You can appeal even on the mail. And then there's a committee, appeals side, they will look at it. And you give your reasons why you are appealing. And if they look at it and it was arbitrarily done, they will correct it. Even if they don't do anything, you have the right to go out of customs to the courts and argue your case out.
So, currently, what's the customs standards of clearing goods? I don't know if you have anything, like a time frame that, look, we want to see every customer within 2 days, 3 days. Do you have any?
Yes, with the ports, where we have made things very easy like this. If you put in your thing and there's no anomaly, if the goods arrive today and you put in an entry today, some are able to even clear. In fact, we give 2 days, but some are able to clear within 1 day. Depending on if he has been able to, all other factors being equal, that is easy, able to land his goods, because sometimes they finish paying and the examination is going to be done, and for some reason there's a breakdown in logistics, and they are not being able to put the container maybe on top of about 10 other containers. If it doesn't come down, we can't do the examination on top there. And that is beyond, as sometimes it is logistical challenges to maybe the port authorities. They have not been able to bring down the container.
What percentage are you achieving so far at the 2-day window?
Well, currently it is about, it's not too much because of the other factors I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Even sometimes people pay and they themselves are not coming for it. They are not coming for the examination. The thing is referred to the officer is waiting for them, they have not come. Because the importer may not be ready because either he has to pay some handling charges to the free station who is keeping the goods for him, or he has not even finished dealing with the shipping line. So the shipping line will not give him a release letter for him to come. But he has finished paying the duty. But most often we are still under, around 40%. But it is mainly because people
40% you can within 2 days.
Yeah, within 2 days.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Now, demurrage. Some people are saying that due to no fault of theirs, goods go to demurrage, and it's like, we still want to get your money. 30 seconds.
Yeah, demurrage actually is not a customs.
That's not your problem.
Yes, it's not a problem to customs. Mm-hmm. It is the handlers. You see, when goods land, you are given a period of time.
Let's do that in 1 minute. Because
Yeah. You are given a period of time to clear the goods with that further charges you're given. I mean, but when you don't charge it, when you don't clear the goods, the free station who are taking care of the goods, they will be calculating the borrow every day. That is outside your duty, and that is not, I mean, a government tax. It is for the handling of your distance. Like I said, the goods are kept under the care of companies, or I mean, Gapua has been giving some of them to some certain private companies. So they will charge you for the period of time that they held the goods for you.
Thank you very much. Getting to know your customs, and I'm sure that you picked a thing or two. One thing I picked about is honesty. If you know you clear your goods quite frequently, just be honest, build your credibility so that you can zoom in and zoom quite out. Thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. But Seydou, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for